Are your meetings draining your energy rather than creating results or getting you the desired outcome? You are not alone. We all face these challenges on a daily basis. Hello, my name is Pooja Nitin Purval. I'm an IT professional and a career growth coach. So today I'm going to tell you 7 steps that you should follow to set up effective meetings and get the results that you desire out of it. These 7 steps are not only going to help you to set up effective meetings, but they're also going to keep your team engaged and use everyone's time wisely. Now, let us first see why it is important for all of us to have effective meetings. Now, I'm sure you know some part of this already, but let's reiterate it. So, we need effective meetings because, first thing, to save everybody's time, right? We are all very, very busy individuals. We usually work on tight deadlines and schedules. We have a high pressure work environment for delivering stuff. And in all of this, if you have to go to 20 meetings which are not adding any value, then it becomes very, very frustrating. Agree, right? And that is why we need effective meetings. When meetings are done effectively, they save time and also minimize miscommunication and align everybody's key priorities. Second thing, boosting productivity. Well run meeting sets clear goal, gives clear direction to everybody who is involved. And because of that, it can enhance productivity and help people manage their time much better across teams. It also improves productivity. Third, stronger team morale. So nothing drains morale of a team like a pointless meeting where everybody is just sitting, discussing, and wasting everybody else's time. None of us really like those meetings, right? And on the other hand, if you have a focus, engaging meeting, it can keep everyone motivated. So let's see how do we do this. So step number one, define clear purpose and outcome. And this is something that I have seen so many people, even a lot of senior people, not doing. So it is always very important that you put across the clear purpose of the meeting. What is the outcome that you are looking from that particular meeting as part of your meeting agenda itself? So the first thing first, before you even go to your Outlook calendar to schedule a meeting, you need to understand why you are setting this particular meeting. And it's very, very important to have this clear purpose in place, because if you do not know what you're looking for, then the meeting would just run like another time waster activity in your calendar and everybody else's calendar. People would try to fulfill their own agendas in your meeting. So if you are not running it purposefully, then somebody else's purpose may get fulfilled in your meeting. So it's very important that you have a clear purpose defined whenever you schedule a meeting. So let me give you an example of how a purposeful meeting looks like compared to something which is not even there. So I receive at least 50 to 70% of my invites without any agendas. So you just have a meeting title and there is nothing in the agenda, and people just give you the Zoom details where you need to join, and that's that. And then these are the meetings wherein I question, okay, should I really need to be going? Am I going to add any value in there, or is it going to be another time waster for me? And with all these thoughts in mind, there is a possibility that I may not prioritize these meetings. However, if I receive a meeting which have a clear cut agenda that okay, we are scheduling this meeting to discuss how we are going to solve the server issue that we have in project 1, how we are going to come up with a timeline which would meet customers' requirement as well as the regulatory timeline. And third agenda point is the resource shortage that we have. How do we resolve it? And as part of the outcome, it's clearly written that we need to resolve these 3 issues on priority. Otherwise, we have XYZ impact on the project, and request 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 people who needs to be there to be available to to join the meeting. So now when you have a clear cut agenda, you obviously prioritize if you are part of those 10 people and join this particular meeting. So that is why even before you schedule the meeting in the calendar, just outline the specific outcome that you want to achieve as part of that particular discussion. Step 2, create a structured agenda. So creating a structured agenda is important because first thing first, it keeps the discussion focused and it ensures that the meeting accomplishes the goal that you have set it up for. So here is a step-by-step approach that you can follow to have an effective agenda. The first thing that you need to have in the agenda is the meeting objective. Start with a clear purpose as to why this meeting is being scheduled and what is it that you want to achieve at the end of it. This will help to set up expectation and keep the discussion on track. Also avoid putting in very vague items on the agenda list. Try to make them as specific as possible. So instead of saying project updates, you can say that review the current progress on project X and check on any roadblocks that may be there. Second important thing to consider while setting up agenda is always putting the agenda points in the order of priority. So in scenario wherein let's say you take more time on some of the items and are not able to cover everything, at least your important points are covered first. So even when your meetings extend or you have to schedule a follow-up, whatever is priority is kind of taken care of. So always list them in order of priority to get maximum out of your meeting. Third thing, assign a time limit for discussing each and every topic. Now you may not be able to force or enforce the time limit on everybody who is in the meeting, but having it clearly sets a guideline for the people to follow. So the participant try to adhere to it as much as possible. So specify time limits for each agenda item, like 5 minutes for welcome and discussing the goals, 10 minutes for project update, 20 minutes for discussing issue 1, 2, 3. So accordingly, then you can ensure that you cover everything without going over time. Also try to have some buffer time at the end so that any unexpected discussions or any off topic stuff which came up during the discussion can be discussed. Also, if you have overrun time for a particular agenda item, then that also can be compensated without having to reschedule another meeting. Also, if there are going to be multiple people taking care of each agenda item, uh, or different people doing different agenda items, it's good to call that out when you are sending out the agenda, wherein you say that topic A would be done by this person, topic B would be done by these two people, so on and so forth. So this, when you put this, the participants are aware and the person who need to take those relevant actions or who need to contribute to the meeting comes prepared accordingly. If your meeting needs it, then include times for questions and wrap up. And always share agenda in advance. You can send placeholder invites to block calendar, but ensure that if it is a very important meeting, you are sharing the agenda much in advance, at least 2 to 3 days in advance. If the time doesn't permit, then at least a day or few hours in advance. Don't send it 20 minutes before the meeting because that doesn't achieve the objective of it. On the screen, you can see a sample agenda format. You can follow a similar format when you are setting up agenda for your own meetings. Step number 3, invite only relevant participants. And I have been invited to so many meetings just because of the safety, security, emotional factor that it brings in. So always remember that you need to have a focus group available for you to resolve any issue that needs a resolution. The more people are there, the more off topic conversation comes into picture, the focus goes haywire, and there isn't the outcome that you expect that comes out of those kind of meetings. So always invite only those people who are required for a particular meeting. Don't go on inviting everybody for a feel good factor or for them to feel included. Ensure that if you have 10 participant, 20 participant, 50 participant, they are there because they are required for the discussion. And there are different kind of meetings. Like if you're having a town hall, obviously you'll have the entire department in there, right? It's not something where you are looking for a result. It's more of a communication thing. However, they apply this to meetings where you're looking for some result or outcome to come out of it. Like let's say if you are documenting a business requirement document, you don't need 50 people on it, because if you get 50 people on it, your business requirement document is never going to get created. So those are the discussions wherein you need less number of people to keep the focus and get the desired outcome. Let me give you some benefits of having smaller groups in the meetings so that you understand why it's important for us to have audience which is required for the discussion. So basically, when you have a smaller group, there is always improved communication and collaboration, because if in smaller groups we tend to communicate directly with each other, so that reduces misunderstandings. It also reduces the need for any extra clarifications. Uh, this open line communication fosters faster and more efficient information sharing, especially if it is for a complex or a high stake topic or project. There is a greater engagement because you're working with a close group. People are more engaged with each other because everybody feels a stronger responsibility to contribute. So this boosts the engagement and ensure that the diverse perspective of the entire group are heard without the conversation becoming unmanageable. This also means that you have higher decision making quality because you're having more focused discussions, and there is a higher accountability also there because there is less number of people doing a good amount of work. In smaller group, it's easier to come to a consensus or a conclusion. uh, More the number of people, the more the opinions come into picture, the more insecurities come into picture, and it's difficult to come to a consensus at the end of it. Also, if it is a smaller group of people, it's easier to convince them. They adapt to things or new information or changing circumstances easily. So it makes the group very flexible when it comes to decision making or adapting or taking decisions which are time critical. In a smaller group, you also build better relationships. There is a lot of trust that gets built because there are only so many people doing all the work, so you're going through something together. So all of that shared experience actually help you to create stronger bonds and a level of trust. Also, one of the major reason to have only relevant people in the meeting is to avoid the cost that gets billed to the project, right? All of us bill our cost to a project. And when you have 20 people, 30 people, 40 people joining a meeting where they are not required, they are simply wasting time and money of the organization. So every meeting comes with a cost. So it's very important for us to think from an organization perspective also as to how do we reduce this cost. So that's why it's important to get only relevant people on those discussions. So how do you do this? Consider what you want, what is your agenda, and then think of people who can contribute to that outcome and avoid involving people who are not directly involved. Step number 4, start and end on time. So, with us Indians, usually being on time or being punctual is not something that is considered a part of our DNA itself. However, when it comes to corporate world, always try to start and end a meeting on time because everybody's time is important. We need to respect it and we need to ensure that if we are hosting the meeting, we are always starting it on time and we try to stick to the agenda as much as possible so that we can end it on time. Some tips to get this done. So first thing first, so always share and distribute the agenda in advance. Agenda is a roadmap that people need to follow during the meeting and even before the meeting for preparation if they need to. Set and communicate time limit for each agenda item so that people stick to it. And to get this done, it's a good idea to use Zoom timer or any timer app basically, which is displayed on the screen so that people are aware of how much time they are taking. Also, it's a good idea to have a timekeeper or a facilitator who can keep on giving us some time checks in between, wherein we know whether we are on time or we are exceeding the allotted time. Also, at the start of the meeting, if you could encourage concise communication, wherein we tell the people that, okay, keep your comments brief and on topic. Also, during the discussion, it always happens that people come up with some other topics also which are not originally part of the agenda, but then they are important items, so we don't want to lose them also. But then it's not a good idea to keep the current agenda item on hold and start discussing that item unless that's like a showstopper or a very very high priority item. So create a parking lot of sorts for these ideas, or add them to the agenda towards the end, or along wherever the priority of that particular item is, so that you don't miss it, but then you don't start discussing it right then and there as well. So this also helps you to keep your discussions on track. Step number 5, assign rules, or think about who will do these activities. So you need a facilitator, you may need a timekeeper, you would need somebody to take the meeting notes. So always have somebody or a name allocated to these roles, so that you are not searching for people on the call for this. So have a prior discussion before the meeting and have people understand that, okay, this is your responsibility, and please ensure that you are doing it during the meeting. Step number six, encourage participation and focus. We need to have an inclusive environment where everybody feels comfortable to contribute and share their perspective. Now, let me share a few tips on how you can do this, how you can ensure that everybody who joins the meeting is participating. So you can establish ground rules for respectful communication. So you set clear norms that encourage respect and active listening. So rules like only one person can speak at a time, or there is no interruption that would be allowed. These are the things that can make a big difference. So encourage active listening. So remind participant to listen fully before responding, so that you show openness to the other ideas and perspective. Whenever somebody is speaking, everybody should use inclusive language. So phrases such as what are your thoughts on this, or does anyone disagree, can invite people to give a diverse input without putting anybody on the spot. There may be people in the team who are shy, or who doesn't really speak up, they are hesitant. So in those cases, you can gently nudge them, tell them, I would like to hear your perspective on this, or would you like to say something about this. You can also rotate the roles and responsibilities. So scheduling the meeting, taking the notes, or timekeeping, facilitating, moderating. So you can alternate or rotate these roles within different members of the team, so that everybody gets an opportunity to do this. Also, avoid letting one person dominate the discussion. So always ensure that whoever is speaking gets a good amount of time, but then they are not taking all the time that's there for the meeting. Acknowledge and appreciate contribution. So if somebody have said something good, given a very good suggestion, then acknowledge the same in the group, so that the person or the group of people feel valued. Build on ideas. So if somebody has given an idea, let the entire group build on the same. Also, always be aware that there is going to be that unconscious bias which comes in naturally. It isn't something that people do because they want to be biased, but then majority of time, just because of the way we have grown up, the kind of culture we live in, the kind of things which can be normal to us are not normal to, let's say, people who are from different geographies. So the bias would come into picture, so we need to always ensure that it is going to happen, and then have those things taken care of if you notice something like that happening in the meeting. So that's how you can encourage and allow diverse opinions and ideas during your meeting. Step number 7, follow with action items. So this is very, very important step. This is something that happens after the meeting, but then we need to have the note keeper take all the notes, ensure that all the actions along with the people who are going to take them and the date by when it needs to happen is clearly documented, and the same is shared with all the participants once the meeting is completed. It can be done within 24 hours after the meeting is completed, but don't wait for 1 week, 2 week, a month to send these details back. And it's very important that you share these action items. Otherwise, whatever is discussed in the meeting may not be something that could give you the output that you desire. So try these 7 steps in your next meeting and let me know how did it go. If you feel I have added value to your meetings with this video, do share with your friends, family, and colleagues. Subscribe to my channel for more such content. Let me also know in the comment what should be the next topics that I should pick up.